Hey guys, it's Chala from Crafting Through the Chaos of Life. Welcome back for another video. Today I am actually inspired by a thrift store find and I wanted to share that with you. And yeah, so we're going to be making a really cool little folio, and you can make it into kind of whatever folio you want, ephemera or otherwise. But let me show you the inspiration. I hope you're all doing well and finding yourself in your crafty spaces. So I found this beautiful, beautiful vintage photo album, and I have spent some time filling it with all sorts of ephemera pieces because I wanted to have an ephemera folio that kind of contained a whole bunch of different pieces of ephemera that I have. I have been using previously, and I still am, but let me just pull this up. These. You get these, sorry about the glare, you get these at Michael's, and they have all sorts of these little containers, and I've been storing all sorts of my little bits in these, but I find it rather cumbersome because I have 3 of these, and my stuff is, you know, kind of in all different containers, and I just wanted little bits that I could easily grab, and then I can have these to store the extras, if that makes sense. I do have this little cigar box too that I was kind of using, where I have kind of little bits of everything that I've been collecting. Yeah, just kind of little bits of thises and that's, which is really great. I can take, you know, either one of these upstairs with me if I'm crafting upstairs or on a little retreat or wherever I am. But I like this idea because it's kind of hard to see. I got little candy wrappers in there. It's kind of hard to see what all I have in here sometimes, right? So when I came across this with my good friend Rosanna, hello my darling Rosanna, I fell in love with it, and I kind of picked her brain on it. I'm like, should I? And she's like, yes, you should. So look at this amazing little closure. You turn it. Can I turn it? There we go. And it flips open, and then look inside. Look at this goodness. I have to refix this, but look at this. Look at all these little photo keepers that work perfectly for my little bits of ephemera. So I can take a look at all the different kind of labels I have. Really easily I can flip through. I can flip through my butterflies. Now this I did take off because I was doing some measuring. I can easily glue it back down. I am going to change the design a little bit, but look at this. Look at all these little, I can easily see the different butterflies I have. Birds. I've got mushrooms down here. All sorts of labels. Oh, let's go over here. I still have, you know, a ton more I can fill up. I don't want to make it too bulky, otherwise I won't be able to close it. And then on this side, I've got stamps. And I just put little paper clips on the edge just so nothing fell out on the outside. This closes this way, so anything would fall into here. But isn't this great? What a great fun way to be able to flip through for when I want to decorate. I just thought this was really cool, and I thought we would make one together. Now, I am going to, there was an unfortunate thing. I did open this a little bit too wide, and there is a little bit of a crack right here, but I can easily fix that with some binding tape. That's not a problem. So I'll just reinforce that on the outside and on the inside. Not a big deal. This one is a little full. I have kind of too much bulk here and here, but it still closes. It still works. So we're going to do the same thing, but different. Same but different. So this measures almost 12 by 12. We're not going to do a full 12 by 12 today. You could. We are going to use 12 by 12 papers, but I actually have a whole bunch of chipboard. Now, you'd want to use something fairly thick like chipboard, or you know, the backings that you get with calendars, that kind of harder cardboard, or if you have a cardboard box, you could even utilize that. But you do want something a little bit sturdier just because of the weight of what we're doing. So like I said, I have all this chipboard. This is your standard 8.5 by 11 chipboard. And yeah, I thought we would create 8.5 by 11, one like this. And I have one of these little closures. Look at that there. And yeah, we'll just make some little smaller ones. They don't have to be, you know, this size, which is I think 4 by 6. Oh, this is 5 1/4 by 3 10/16, I believe. But you know, we can alter it to make it however we want. I did use faux boo-boo tape because there was some rips there, but I think that looks cool nonetheless. So, shall we get started? Let's get started. The first thing I want to do is, so I'm going to end up, if I can speak, I'm going to end up covering the chipboard with this. You can collage on it. I also am going to use some fabric for the hinges just to make it a little sturdier. I have a ton of fabric sample books. Let me know if you guys want fabric samples, because I've got more than I can actually use, so I can bundle them up for you if that's something you're interested in. So yeah, we'll go ahead and use some of this for the spines of them, just to reinforce it so we don't have any cracking. And yeah, okay, let's get started. This paper pad I'm using I've had for eons. It's from, it was a hot buy at Michael's. So yeah, just good to use it up. And especially with some of these 12 by 12 images like this, it's beautiful, but when am I ever going to really use it? Well, I'm going to use it in this case because it's going to be the front. I was thinking of using this as the front, so that I could keep most of the image, right? And then I can just kind of cut it down the center, and that would be one side and that would be the other. And when it's together, you can kind of see the full image. And then I was thinking this for the back, because the back will be one solid piece. I'm going to again lose some, but I can, you know, get most of it, I think. I think that would be fine. And then this is what I was going to use for the inside. Not that you're going to see this. I might actually even use a plainer one. I'm not sure yet. But that's kind of the plan that we're going with. So let's go ahead and get started with our measuring. Let's put this up over here so I don't lose it. I got these little hinges. I think I got these off of Temu. I think they're going to be really great. Have that on there. And then when you want to open it, you just open up the little hinge. Yeah. I might have to WD-40 it a little bit. Maybe not. I think it'll be fine. I think it's just because it's not actually attached. Okay, enough playing with that. So this is standard 8.5 by 11, so I should be cutting this. Do I want to do it this way? Do I want to do it this way and have it open up like that? I could do it that way too, but then it's going to sit kind of funny in a bookshelf. It's pretty wide, but would I get more out of it? I could put two, maybe I will reassess this and do one this way. We could also do it this way, the original way I had thought, but what if we did it this way? Then we could use more of the image. Look at this, just kind of going on the fly here. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Let's try it. We can do it both ways. So let's go ahead and cut this one in half this way. So if this is 11, right? Yes, 11 inches, so that would be 5.5 inches. So we're going to cut 5.5 inches here. There we go. And then I want the spine to be 1.5 inches. So we'll take another piece and do 1.5 inches. So there's 1.5. Again, this is more so that you can have like a little ephemera folio on the go or just on your desk, so you don't have, because if you're like me and you have all sorts of little decoration pieces kind of everywhere in different containers, at least you have a smattering of, you know, a good selection of them, so you don't have to pull out every box you own to get a variety. Okay, so that's good. And then this is a leftover piece, and then we have this as our backing. Okay, so what I'll do is I need to, so this is going to go on like this, and then we're going to have our 1.5 inch spine. So then this will go like this, and this will go like this, right? Yes. So we could also use our little, I've used this before, where is it? I got this at Temu as well. This little doohickey. And then that can help us get our spacing just right. And then we'll do our fabric. Yes, yes. Okay. But first I want to do the cover first. Do I? Yes, I want to put the paper on the cover first. I didn't want to put the paper on and then cut, just in case when I went to cut down the middle it ripped the paper, because sometimes that happens, if you know what I mean. Okay, let's actually figure out, do I have a piece of acetate that will help me see where I want to be? I should have a piece of 8.5 by 11 acetate, maybe. Maybe not. Yes. So I'm just going to use a piece of acetate, because this should be 8.5 by 11. Oh, it's a little bit more, but that's okay as well, because we can fold over the edges. So this is just going to help me see the image and where I want to trim down. Let's try and line this up on our mat, our grid mat. Now we might lose some of that butterfly. We are, but that's okay. That is just fine. I like it right about there. So I'm going to take my pencil and just draw a line here. Is that? It's a little bit taller. That is okay, because that will give us some to wrap around the edges. Yes, a little bit to wrap around the edge. That should be fine. Oops, did I move that? Okay, don't break on me, pencil. Oh, I moved moving it. Let's try not to move it. There we go. Okay, so I can see my lines. Yes, I can see my lines. You can kind of see them there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to cut this down. Then I am going to simply glue the piece over top. So let's cut it down together. I'm just not sure how much we want to see together, because I know this is going to be a longer video. We will try. We'll try and see what we can get through together here. I haven't done this before, so this is a bit of a trial and an error. Yeah, it'll be fine. Obviously, if you have more of a solid pattern, it's not going to matter, but I might lose a little bit of my G when I fold over. But I think I'll be okay with that. I think I will be okay. Yes. Okay, I can kind of see the dream big on this side. Make sure these line up. So I want to put this one do I want to use this? That's not going to be big enough. I want to fold over just a little bit, just so I can wrap the edges. So I want to make sure it is straight-ish, even-ish. And then I'll trace them. This would probably be much easier if you just had a solid pattern, then it wouldn't matter, but I like to try and do things a little bit on the difficult side, because why not? Okay, so that is going to go here. Just give me a guide of where to line it up after I glue it. Like that. And then I see a line right here. And right here, that's probably where I will cut down the middle of that. Yes. Yes. I think that'll be okay. Or do I want to move it over just a bit and have more on this side? Oh, the decisions, right? I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm not going to overthink it. So I think for simplicity's sake, I will cut this in half now and then wrap the two fronts. Hopefully it will work out. Maybe watch the entire video first to see if I make any mistakes instead of following along with me, just in case. Just in case I make a boo-boo. Oh, I like that, actually. Yay! Okay. I think this is going to work well. All right. Let's start with this one. And how do we want to glue this? What do I have? I could use some double-sided sticky tape. I could use glue stick, could use art glitter glue. But I also have this. This is that Be Creative or Souk Wing tape. And it is pretty much the perfect width. I think I want to try this. Once it's down though. So I'll have to, okay. I think we can do this, guys. So I'm going to roll this out. I mean, I have so much of this, I might as well use it. I've had this since my card making days. So you stay there. And I know it's good and strong. So if I just place this in the middle, like that. Yes. Do I have a knife? I do. And a ruler maybe would be good. Let's start down here, I think. Just like that. I am going to hang on to this piece because I can use it to fold over the edges. So I'll just kind of stick it up on my desk area over there. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay down these pieces. I'll miter the edges, fold them over. You guys know how to do that, I'm sure. And then we'll come back and I'll show you them once it's covered. Sound like a plan? All right, so I have gone ahead and wrapped those pieces of chipboard. So I had just enough here just to go over, but that's okay. We're going to put these panels on them. So whatever size you do, you're going to cut your panels down, and I just have 1/4 of an inch all the way around just to make sure that I cover everything. And yeah, so we'll glue those down, and then not yet though. Don't glue the panels onto your cover bits just yet, and I'll show you why in a minute. I decided to go with a different back. I thought it looked a little weird to have a dark front of the cover and a light back. So I decided to use this fun metallic polka dot that kind of goes with the metallic on the front of our cover. So that will be our back. That's from the same paper pad. And then we'll have this on here. And then we will have this on here. And then we have our spine pieces that we need to deal with as well. So what I want to do right now is I want to go ahead and just take these clips off. This was just holding down the edges until I got everything glued down nicely. Oops, flicking that at myself. And our spine pieces, I'm debating whether or not I cover them. I cover just one side of them like this. If I just glue down, and then I'd have it fold over the top and the bottom, because I'm going to have the fabric over top. Yeah, and then whether or not I want to have, I think I have some more. Do I have more of this? I don't know if I do. But then I'd have this on the outside. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. We'll get to that, I guess, when we get to that. Maybe I'll have this on the inside. I don't know. Because the fabric will cover the outside. Yeah. And I'm not sure if I'm sold on this fabric yet. I might just look at my stash and see if there's something else that is a little bit darker that might go. We'll see. But right now, let's go ahead. I want to show you guys how to attach the panels. Of course, I'm sure you know how to attach the panels, but specifically, let's glue this one down. Let's get started with that. Now, if you want, you can totally ink around this. I am not sure yet if I will. Will I? Will I ink around that? Sure, let's ink around it. Let's use some vintage photo. And we'll just give this a quick ink around. Yeah, just to kind of finish off the edges. Hide any imperfections of that white core that we might see. Totally optional. Now again, I did use that Sookwing or Be Creative tape. You use whatever glue you have. Doesn't matter. I had it. It was handy, so I thought I would use it because it's just been sitting there on the shelf. Might as well use it up. Did I get the bottom? I think I did. I just want a little bit more. Okay, so we've got that inked. Not a ton, but just enough to kind of cover the edges a little bit. For this, I'm just going to use art glitter glue. I like the fact that it dries quickly and it doesn't warp the paper, but again, you use whatever you have, whatever glue you like. Because I want this to be quite sturdy, I'm using this glue stick. Again, I don't know how long glue stick will last, especially if you're pulling things in and out. So that is why I am going with this. Try and get it somewhat equal all the way around. I think that's good. I'll just use my bone folder. There we go. There, that should glue down nicely. So this is the back part of our little folio. Again, you don't have to use this as an ephemera folder. You can use it as, you know, a writing journal folio, whatever you like. Good. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. Now with this, I'm not putting the backing on just yet because I want to attach our hardware and I want to hide the brads, and I want to hide the brads underneath the paper. Now these did come with some little screws. I, of course, am not going to be using those because I'm not screwing into wood. So instead I scoured my stash and found some of these little brads that work perfectly. You want brads that will not be too small that they'll pull out, but also not too high that they will impede on this little mechanism. They have to lay flat enough that just sits in there. That's nice and flush. It's not going to interrupt my mechanism piece here. If you had a brad that sat just a little bit proud, it would catch and then you wouldn't be able to move your little latch. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so what we want to do is let's line this up on our grid to make sure everything is straight. And the reason why I'm not attaching the spine and everything yet is because this part would be really, really difficult to line up and measure. If this was attached to the spine already, it wouldn't work very nicely. So I'm going to put these two pieces in as if they were latched and then put them on my project. Do I have a pencil? I do. Oops, I still have that little brad in there. I need the holes to be empty so that I can trace them. And I think we want it about here. Just making sure everything's kind of lined up. that look good? Or do we want it down just a little bit lower? I think I want it as close to the middle as possible. So if that's the case, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops, let's do this properly. 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. Yeah, I'm about halfway right there. I think I'm happy with this. So now what I'll do is just put my, if I cannot move it, this is the tricky part. Just hold it down, and I'm going to trace the circles of where my brads need to go. Like that. Can I see them? Yes, I can. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to take my stylus and press down just so I can see that a little better. That is right there. There we go. So that is where we need to put our holes. Let's actually put the pin in our glue so we don't have a mishap there. Okay, we need a pokey tool. There it is. Come here, my friend. A little Tim Holtz pokey tool. Your awl will work, whatever poking device you have. And because I have a self-healing mat underneath, I can just poke this right down. Like that. Like that. Yeah, using the little ball head of that stylus makes it a lot easier for the pokey tool just to slip in there. It's already got a divot for it to go into. So now, just going to make the holes a wee bit bigger, just so I can get that brad through nicely. And because the brads are really tiny and my fingers are really big, well, not really, really big, but bigger than what we have here. Let's see if we can put those brads in there like this. Do I do one at a time? Maybe one at a time. Got a little ambitious there. So make sure your mechanism is on the correct side. And I'm just going to hold the brad with my thumb and push it through. Oh, that worked really well. Okay, here's the tricky part. You need to hold the brad down with your thumb and then peel back those legs. I'm just going to use this to press it down nice and firm. Ooh, perfect. Okay, now we will put our other brad in. Hopefully this goes as smooth as the first one. Okay, so I have the little latches in, and look how cute that is. So adorable. Love it. And then this will open up. And then we have the inside. Now I did the spines. I've only covered one side of them. And I just kind of put some ink on these edges. You're not going to really see these edges very much. But this will be on the inside here. Sorry, my screen is not big enough to show everything. But this is essentially how it's going to look. And then we need to cover this with some fabric. And I found this. I thought this would go a little bit better with the outside, because it picks up the gold of the dots. Right? I think that looks pretty cool. So we're going to use this. Again, this is just from a sample book that I got. And yeah, it's just about, yeah, it's pretty much the right size. So let's go ahead and glue these down. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac for that. Now, there really isn't an up or down, I don't think, for this. But I do need to make sure, yeah, it's pretty square. So what we want to do is have an overhang. Now I just want to double check. So this should be okay. We want about I think an inch overhang. How is an inch going to look on this side though? This side shouldn't be too bad, but it's this side. If I put this down here and I have an inch overhang, how is that going to look? Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, so with that said, we want an inch overhang, and I want about, do I want to go right up to the top? Maybe I want to go right up to the top. Yes, I think I can use my rotary trimmer to cut across there. And then I'll use my pinking shears, I think, to cut across here. All right, I think I know what I'm doing. Also need this little tool though as well, because this gives us the spacing for our hinge. Yes, I think that's going to be good. Okay. In that case, I need to go here. And then here. And we want, so that gives us about 3/4 of an inch. And then so I think right along this line is where I want to cut. Which one did I say? This one? Yes. So I'm going to use a pen. That's not what I want. A marker of some sort that we can see. We're not going to see this side, so it'll be fine. This is also a non-permanent, a Staedtler non-permanent, so it'll eventually come off. Okay, so I'm going to, how big is that then? 1, 2, 3.5 inches. About 3.5 inches. Okay. So let's use, oh, I think I better use my fabric pinking shears because the paper pinking shears just will not go through that upholstery fabric. Never mix your paper and fabric scissors up. That is something I learned from my mom. All right. So we'll go, so I'm going to put the little points of my tine touching the right side of that line. I'll just make sure I have enough fabric to do what I want to do. Having that line also ensures that I'm cutting straight, because I do have issues cutting straight. There we go. And like that. Good. We're just going to line this up like so. So I've got this glued down with that Fabri-Tac. Again, make sure if you're using Fabri-Tac, you're in a well-ventilated area. And then here I am going to just line these up onto my grid mat, just making sure everything's nice and straight. We don't want anything to go cattywampus at this point. I'm using this little tool here, and that will give me the spacing. I'm going to put 2 dots there. Just need to see that a little bit better. There we go. So I need to put the glue along here, not past that, those little dots that I made. Just like that. Again, we will line this up to those dots, keeping it even with the top and bottom as well. Make sure that folds nicely there. That does. Oh, look at that. I like that. That looks good. Okay. So that is one side. Now we are going to do the other side. So the next part that we want to do is to make this little pocket where we store our ephemera. Now I do apologize for the glare with the acetate. So I am going to be doing it with 2 different pieces. So I'm going to be doing it with an acetate piece and with a vellum piece. So the first acetate piece is going to be on the side parts here. Okay, so on my side parts I'm going to have acetate, and in the middle I'm going to have vellum. Now my inside pieces here are going to be a little bit smaller than these side pieces. So, whoops, the acetate piece, and the acetate that I'm using is, I just got this from Michael's. It was on sale a long time ago, and it's just clear acetate sheets. There's 12 by 12, and there's 12 pieces, and when you cut them, it's a rather thick acetate, but when you cut them, there's also a piece that you can peel off. It's got like a protective little coating piece, so it peels off to protect the acetate from scratching. Not a big deal if you don't have that. If you just have vellum, use that. That is just fine. I just have a boat ton of this stuff and I wanted to use it up. Okay, so for the outside pieces, or my acetate pieces, this piece here, I had to do some measuring beforehand, but this is going to measure, is it 5 1/4? Yes, so 5 1/4 this way, and then your total length is going to be 6 1/2. Okay, so 5 1/4 by 6 1/2. Then what we're going to want to do is score at 1/2 inch, and that gives us this little flap. So that's the same kind of flap that's here. So you're going to score at 1/2 inch and then at 4 inches. Then that gives us this fold up little pocket here, and it gives us this little flap. So the little 1/2 inch flap we're going to fold to the back, and then this little pocket we're going to fold up. Okay, so do you see how that folds that way? I know it's hard to see with this, but that way this will adhere down onto our little ephemera booklet. Our pocket will be on this side and we can flip it up. Okay, so I've made 8 of these, so 4 on each side of the flaps. And then for the inside vellum pieces, they're a little bit smaller. So this is going to, well, actually, they're narrower but longer. So this is going to measure 7.5 inches long by 5 inches. Okay, and then we're going to score at the exact same marks as we did with our acetate piece. So we're going to have the 1/2 inch flap, and then we're also going to score at 4 inches. Okay, so again, we're going to fold the 1/2 inch flap back, and this piece is going to come all the way up, because our pockets for the vellum piece are actually going to be coming in through the sides, like it is here. Now I've gone ahead and prepared some, and to seal the sides, you could use something like score tape or Be Creative or double-sided tape. I wouldn't recommend that, only because if you put these little bits inside, it could stick to the tape. It could get pushed into the tape and get stuck in there. So I have gone ahead and just sewed. This acetate went through my sewing machine just fine. I'll hold that underneath so you can see. And I just sewed up the pocket on either side for the acetate. For the vellum pieces, now this piece, I had one that cracked just a little bit when I folded it. None of the other ones did, but what I did is I took two pieces, two pockets, and I put some decorative washi tape, and these ones will sit on top of our little waterfalls that we're creating. So again, I just folded this back, this part goes over the top, and then I just sewed along. Before I sewed along though, I did do these little side notches. This is totally optional, but when you're cutting vellum or punching vellum, it's a little bit tricky. I have to fool my punch. So what I did is I actually took this and I wanted to kind of find the center. So I took my centering ruler and I figured out from here to here, in order to center it, I just lined this up on the 1 3/4. So it's 1 3/4 on that fold, and it's 1 3/4 on the right hand side here. And then I just put a little mark on my 0. Turn it around, and we'll do the exact same thing. So 1 3/4 there, measures 1 3/4 on there, and then make a little mark. That'll help me center my little punch. Now what I need to do is I need to fool my acetate punch. So I'm going to take a scrap piece of paper, and now my punch has been a little finicky, so I hope this works. And I'm going to put a piece of paper underneath the acetate. Don't try to cut the acetate just on its own, because it's going to gum up your punch. Also, you may want to run some tin foil through your punch. Punch the tin foil a couple times. That will sharpen your punch before you go ahead and do this with the vellum. Okay, so I'm just going to center this. Now there is some centering marks here. I'm not going to go all the way down halfway. I'm going to just do a tiny notch. So I'm going to line the little mark that I made here up with this little center piece here, and then I'm not going to go all the way to halfway with this punch. I'm going to go, let's try and line this up to about here. If it's not the same on all of them, that's fine, but about here, right about there. Perfect, that worked. And we'll do the same thing on this side. Go about here. And again, this just helps to trick your punch, to give it a little bit more stability to punch through that vellum. So just kind of line my papers up and line them up about here. That looks about good. Just like that. Okay, so I've tricked my punch so that it could go through that vellum. All right, so the next thing we want to do, again, I would take this to my sewing machine. I would line it up like this, and then I would just sew along here. I do back stitches as well, just to give it some security. So let's go ahead and bring in our folio, and now I'm thinking the best way to secure them is this Be Creative score tape. It is really, really strong. And I'm just going to cut off this bit here. It's been exposed for a bit. That in the garbage. Okay, so let us figure out, one of the other things you can do is, if you want in your little clear pockets like this, as you can see on this one, it has a piece of paper in it. So I've got one side and then another side. You can do the same thing. This is just an index card. The only thing is I would need to cut this down just a little bit. So I did measure the clear acetate pieces to work. So let's just trim off a skosh there. Let's see if that fits in. So if I wanted, so that'll fit in nicely now. So I did make sure they were the same height as these little index cards, so that if I did decide, I could label what was in here, and then I could flip it up. And then I have a little place for ephemera on this side and a little place for ephemera on this side. And it should work just fine. Okay? All right, so let's figure out where we're going to put these. I think I will put this in here just so you guys can see. It might be a little easier to see. So I'm going to go ahead and put some score tape on here. Yeah, let's do that. Move that to the side. Flatten that out a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And we'll put this on here. Just like that. And then I want to get my bone folder, and I really, sorry about the glare, I really want to burnish that down so it sticks nicely to that acetate piece. Okay, I'll do that to all of them. And then I'll come back to my little flaps, and I'm going to measure from the bottom, okay? I'm going to line this up exactly where I want it to be here on the bottom. And then I'm going to evenly space each one of these. Figure out the even spacing. I think that will have to come down a little bit more. And make sure your pockets are going the right way. And then that one will go here. So I'll just play around with the spacing between the bottom. So it is about, going to grab a different ruler here. If I have it correctly, and I kind of want to make sure I'm also sticking it down so I have a little bit of an edge, you know, a border here and then at the bottom. That's looking somewhat right. So I want to space the bottom of this one from the bottom of the next one about, if I stop moving it around, maybe if I clip it. I think that was about right. Yeah, they're about an inch apart. So about an inch apart all the way along, because how long is our piece here? Yeah. So put that one there. Yeah, I think about an inch, inch and a half apart, inch and a quarter. So you're just going to measure and make sure they're evenly spaced. And then you're going to start at the bottom. And you're going to stick the first one down. So we can do this one together. That looks about right. You can make pencil marks as well. So for this, I'm just going to take just a little bit of the backing off, not all the way. And fold it over like this. Because once this is stuck down, it is stuck down. There is no pulling it up without ruining your backing papers. So about here, that looks good. And then I can push it down and then just pull up that release paper and then press down my pocket. And then this will flip up. And again, just burnishing it down. Just like that. And we have our first little ephemera waterfall pocket in there. Okay, let's do another one together. I think we have some time. We might go over the hour, but that's all right. So I'm just putting this piece in so it's easier to see. And what I can even do is I could even do my top one, the same sort of spacing, and then space the other two. Let's try that. It might bite me in the butt, but we'll see. So let's get our score tape on here. So it's going to go like that. Hopefully you guys can still see. Trying to move everything up so you can still see what I'm doing. Putting our score tape on. Burnish it down so we get a good adhesion to that acetate. Like that. Need a bigger desk. This project is really big though, quite wide. Okay, and then we will pull up the backing and then just fold it like that. Same thing on the other side. Like this. Okay. Make sure our pockets go in the right way before I stick it down. And then line it up about here. Now I didn't do more than 4 pockets for a very specific reason. These pockets will get a bit bulky. Okay, so we don't want too many pockets, otherwise you're going to have the problem. I don't know where my little folio, there it is. Let me see if I can show you. Because my current folio, see how many pockets are in there? And because I have them front and back, it is very gator mouth right now, right? So you can see one side is much bulkier than the other. So having too many pockets will make it bow out a little too much. So fewer pockets will give you a better kind of fitting folio, if that makes sense. Burnish that down. Okay, let's do one with our vellum pieces. Now our vellum pieces are narrow, more narrow. I want to start at the bottom. That one's not sewn yet, so let's not use that one. These ones with the tape I want at the top here. I mean, you could do all of them, all of your vellum pieces with a little bit of washi tape just to add interest if you want. I'm just going to do the top ones on this one. So this fits a little shorter so that we can get into these side pockets. Okay, I wanted them spaced just a little bit further apart. So I think let's add our washi tape, or not our washi, our score tape. There we go. I don't want it to stick to my project, so let's move this back. Like this. Again, this is more to be a kind of a lighter end folio, or like a little travel, well, this isn't little, but you know, if you're going to retreats or anything, it's more of a travel size. So I have a big container of my ephemera that holds a lot more of my ephemera in little bits over in my storage area. This is just so I could keep a little bit at my desk and have a selection. So don't try to store all of your items in here. That's not going to work. It's just meant to have like a little bit of a selection for you to work at. Have a bit of a smattering of everything, if you will. Because I know I was going back and forth between all my storage containers, and I was like, oh, I don't want to have to pull out all my big storage. I just want a little selection of everything. So this was my answer to that. Then when it gets empty, I can go back to my bigger containers and then fill them up from there. Okay, let's make sure I'm doing this correctly. So that's going to sit about there, that's going to sit about there. Okay, let's do the one on the right first. And hopefully you can still see, I know I'm not centered in the camera, but it's a little hard with the size of this. Oh, come on. There we go. Fold that back. Measuring kind of equidistance, making sure I have a little bit of a border on either side. Hopefully that's even, and I'm going to go for it. Okay, grab my release paper. Come on, my friend. I don't have any long nails anymore. Where did you go? I see you there. Okay. Press that down. Oh, that ripped right off. Oh, you turkey. You're being difficult. Why are you... I want to say some words right now, but I'm not going to. We'll just try and... Aha, there we go. And we'll just burnish that down. Great. And then we have our little flip-up pocket that we can get at both sides. Very much like this one. So if you were worried about things falling out the side like I was, on the inside on this side, it's not too bad because you have another pocket kind of holding the items there. I just put a paper clip. So if you have any worry about that, you can just put a paper clip if you want. I thought about ways to make flaps, little kind of envelope flaps, and it was a very intense project if I was going to do that. And I wanted something that you guys could make quite quickly. So this was the result. If you want to create flaps, you'd have to cut a separate piece and have it fold over, and maybe you could secure it with a little Velcro dot. That would work, or try to create an envelope. I could not get it to work as nicely, and I still want it to be quick to get in and out of for you guys. So you could also, again, have another piece. I don't know where my little index cards are, but you could slide an index card in here and have storage again on both sides. Okay, let's get this piece down, and then I will go off camera, assemble, I'll finish sewing those two pieces, and then I'll get everything assembled, and we'll see how it turns out. Again, we're just measuring the same distance between these as we would with the acetate one. Yeah, this is going to be a long video, so I do apologize for that. Okay. I think that is going to give me enough on either side. Good spacing from the bottom. Okay, I think I will go for it. You're going to give me difficulties again. Oh, be straight. Be straight now. There we go. And burnish that down. Okay, and then we have our little ephemera pockets that we can get at from both sides. So if we had butterfly in there. So yeah, I wanted to show you that you could do this. There you go. With, so if it pushes to one side or the other, you can get in there. So yeah, I wanted to show you that if you don't have acetate, you can definitely do it with vellum. You can create little tabs as well to go on here and write on what's in each thing, so that when you have all your little folios down like this, you can go, oh yeah, this is my butterflies, and then you can flip to that. So there's definitely options. You could even have it this way. You could have them go this way and have tabs at the top and then flip them down. So you would just start down here like this and have it flip this way. I mean, I should have done that in hindsight, but that's okay. And then you have them up, and then you could have little tabs in the middle. And then your tab would tell you what each thing was. Okay? All right, so I'm going to finish this all off, and then I'll come back when everything is done. All right, so this was our inspiration. This was the little folio that I saw at the Goodwill store. It holds photos. I put little bits of all my little decorating and ephemera pieces in here. Now let's take a look at what we made. So here is the folio. Now we have room to expand when we fill it up with ephemera. We have this cute little latch. That opens up. I can't even get all of it in. Again, sorry about the glare. So we have our clear little acetate pockets here. Again, you can put items double-sided. There is lots of room for you to get your fingers in there to get what's on the back side. You can fill them full of all sorts of little goodies, spaces for you to go ahead and add more items. We have that on both of our flaps. Okay, so little bits here. And then we have our vellum pieces. Again, if you don't have acetate, you can just do it with the vellum. Again, we have access from both sides. I did cut down some divider tabs to put in there so that it gave the pocket a little bit more structure, and so that you can have them double-sided as well if you want. See, on that one we have it double-sided. And there we go. So definitely keep your eyes out on my Ko-fi site. If you haven't joined Ko-fi, go ahead, and there should be a link in kind of the description box somewhere, I believe, for my site. I will be listing this folio at some point on my Ko-fi site for sale. So again, it was just a simple little project, all things considered, but what a great way to store your little ephemera bits that you like to use on the daily. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. And remember, P.S. I love you.